Yo, top of the morning, man. Man. More or less, you know how I do, man. I wanted to put together a little video for y'all this morning. First and foremost, I want to thank y'all again, man, for the support and different things like that as it relate to the book. The book is still available. The book is still on, those platforms that I'm sure, I done put that joint in y'all face so much, man. So y'all know where to get it at. You know what I'm saying? So again, for the people that purchase, and different things like that, man, thank y'all. Part of the reason for me making this video this morning is, I've had a lot of people, who've read the book, that comes from, different walks of life and different things like that. And, they would hit me up and some people would ask me, is some of these things, as far as the concept of the book, is these my actual experiences? And some people have actually asked me, is this book about me? Just different things along those lines. Of course, I have some people that know me, that know where I come from, know what I've been through, to some extent, etc. Right? And I just wanted to go a little bit in depth as far as, where I got the concept of straddling the fence, straddling the fence from. So more or less a little bit about myself. Of course, I like to say that, I'm from Essex County, New Jersey, because I lived all over, not more so Essex County as a whole, but more or less, from Irvington, East Orange, North Orange, different things like that. That's where I come from. All of these places have had an impact on my life and who I am, who I was in the past and who I am today. So more or less, I just wanted to give y'all a little rundown, on a little bit about me, how I came up, and different things like that. So of course, coming from where I come from, touching on the concept of the book, Straddling the Fence, a lot of people out of Essex County have come up, just going back to the 60s, the 70s, and different things like that. A lot of our fathers and different things like that, came up upon, the Islamic culture. I want to say culture, but they've had Islamic backgrounds, right? A lot of our fathers, whether it came straight to them or, through the prison systems and different things like that, this is what they were upon. You look around, you can look at the names, the last names, and different things like that. And it just goes back a little bit in our history, coming from where we come from. So a little bit about myself, of course, I came up in an Islamic household. My mother, my father, my siblings, a little bit of, pretty much everybody, and I feel like, when I came up with the concept, it was like one of those things where I felt like there were a lot of, authors out there, because this is not just about Essex County, New Jersey, or whatever the case may be. I've met a lot of people, especially, in the federal system, that have come up like this. Their parents were Muslim, and then, at some time or another, let's say the Islam left the household, and the children, the other parent or whatever the case may be, they were affected by it. So again, going back to me, that was my case. We came up, I recall, as a youngster, everything was firm in the household, up until my father left the household. So I feel like, and in Islam, a lot of people don't know, the men are, given or they have the obligation to teach their family the religion. So once my father was no longer in the household, it kind of became a situation where the religion left the household. We started, indulging in, celebrating holidays, and we just had, I want to say, the lack of knowledge, information and different things like that. It just wasn't there. We kind of ventured off into, doing other things. And for myself at a young age, having friends that was, had other belief systems and different things like that, I used to always look at it like, we always knew that we were Muslim, but it was kind of one of those situations where it was like, I want to do what my friends and them is doing. I want to do this and I want to do that. And, my mother did the best that she could, instilling in us whatever she needed to do, to keep us away from, whatever the case may be. But anyway, I don't really want to drag this too much, but, going back to the concept of the book, I'm gonna jump a little bit ahead. Once my father, let's say, Allah called my father back. Once my father passed away, right? I kind of got off into, the streets. I already had, from my siblings, my older siblings and different things like that, I already had a little bit of experience as far as seeing some of the stuff that they was doing and, being curious and, snooping around the house and finding guns and, at 11, 12 years old and, finding drugs and, different stuff like that around the house that my brothers may have stashed around the house and, different things like that. Or just looking out my window or being outside and seeing certain things and being exposed to certain things at a young age, that was the norm, So again, just to, jump ahead a little bit, once I started, getting off into the street life and different things like that, that's what it was. That's what was going on around me. That's what was going on in other neighborhoods, etc. So, that was the norm, more or less. So, again, the concept, and like I said, there were a lot of urban books out there that I felt like they wasn't really touching on this topic as far as, that straddling the fence, that struggle, that, that issue at hand, as far as when the gang culture, really took our neighborhoods by storm, and I want to say that, there's a lot of people out there that, and I'm not saying this to try to, glorify or, nor was my book about me glorifying gangs and gang activity and different things like that. But more or less, just going back, for those of you that know, that's been around me, that, whatever the case may be, you guys know that when it came to, the gang culture, as far as over here, as far as the East Coast and, New Jersey or whatever the case may be, a lot of people know that we were some of the first ones that was into that stuff, like, that got off into that stuff, and I'm talking about the guys that's, from up my way and, Orange, New Jersey and different things like that. We were some of the first ones, a lot of people, they have they stories and their start, or however they got off into the gang activity or whatever the case may be. But for those who know, they know. You know what I'm saying? For those of you that know, y'all know. You know what I'm saying? Who was around back then and who was who, and I won't get off into naming no individuals or whatever the case may be, unless it's a situation, because I want to keep this going. Unless it's a situation where I get in contact with these guys or whatever the case may be, and they're okay with me saying whatever. I'm not into because I know some guys is they still outside. I ain't gonna get off into incriminating nobody or mentioning nobody or saying no names and none of that stuff. So I'm gonna kind of keep it on myself. But for me, I want to say I got off into the gang banging. As far as I want to say, man, maybe 90, 97, 98, maybe early 1998 or something like that, something along those lines. It's been so long ago, I'm about to be 42, so we talking 90s, late 90s, going into the the late 90s. So once I got off into that, on top of my misunderstanding of the religion and the lack of direction, as far as knowing where to go and not having, don't get me wrong, I had my brothers, my brother Najee, for example. He was the one that kind of always pushed the religion, regardless of what the situation was in the household. He's one of the ones that stayed on top of the deen. So again, once I got off into the gang banging and different things like that, my life just kind of like took a turn for the worse, more or less. You know what I'm saying? So again, just to try to bring it, not to, because I don't want to jump all around, because it could happen. I one of them guys, man, my life was literally like a movie. You know what I'm saying? So I could jump around, I don't want to, lose the topic at hand. I don't want to lose that. So more or less the concept of the book, and some of the stuff that the people been asking me, even when it comes to like the violence in the book, and of course, it's an urban novel, different things like that. So you want it to be entertaining, different things like that. Of course, you want it to have messages in there. Some people are going to read it, and because that's how I used to be when I came up reading urban novels back then when I was younger, or whatever the case may be. Let's say I would read a book, something that I probably read back in the day, like a True to the Game, or it impacted my life in a different way. I was fascinated by certain things in that book, compared to if I was to read True to the Game today. And I have read it recently, maybe some years back, and I got so much more out of it, because my level of understanding and just the place that I'm in, or was in at that time, was a different place. I got the jewels, I got the hidden messages, and the warning signs, and the flip side of what was being talked about in those books and different things like that, and the positive from it. So it's good in these books. You get a lot of people out here that be like, oh, I don't read urban novels, and I'm just not into that. Cool. You know what I'm saying? But it bugs me out, because you wouldn't read an urban novel, but you would sit here and listen to all this foolish music all day long. All this nonsense going into your ears, and all of this stuff all day long. So it's make it make sense. So more or less, the concept. the concept